The human brain is like electricity. It's always going to take the least path of resistance. It always wants to. It's within you and your heart to stop that.
Welcome to Mindset Lessons from the Field. I'm Gina Kazaza. I'm going to now officially say the author of the memoir Training with the SEAL because I started releasing those chapters on Substack. So check them out if you haven't so far. Today's guest is a retired Special Forces Warrant Officer with over 2 decades of military experience, including leadership roles in both the 10th and 19th Special Forces Group. He is not just a warrior, he's a leader, strategic, and servant to the Special Forces community. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really excited to introduce you to Paul Watson. Paul, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you. We talked briefly yesterday and you said something that I want to dive right into. And you talked about after you retired, you did 22 years, right? And you were like, I want to relax, right? I deserve it. I did 22 years, right? And you relax a little bit too long. And I understand that because I watched my dad go from retirement to and he was like, I'm giving myself a year. He's like a
Yeah.
year to figure out my next move and what I want to do. And I want to just relax. He's like, I've gotten up at 4 a.m. every single day to go to work for 40 years. And he's just like, now is 1 year. Well, it's going on it's way over 2 years. And I'm just like, what's going on is I'm figuring it, everything I
Yeah.
think it's just now he's just comfortable. He's just comfortable
Mhm.
with and I will say, I used to work for Penny Marshall and it was the same thing with her. She just got comfortable with just not just wanting to just lay down and watch TV. And that's it.
Yeah.
No motivation to do anything else. And I want to know what it was like for you to get comfortable. And
Mhm.
when did you realize it's too long being comfortable? And how was it getting out of that comfortable?
Yeah. There's a great analogy out there. The human brain is like electricity. It's always going to take the least path of resistance. It
Mm.
always wants to, right? And it's within you and your heart to to stop that. It's only your mind that can
Uh,
stop that, right? Yeah, 22 years in, the last, I would say 6 to 5 months, maybe 4 months of my career was kind of on cruise mode. Stopped working out and body was hurting, and sitting down was very comfortable. Sitting down was nice. Having my couple drinks a night and just kind of being myself and not having being be told where I need to be, what time I need to wake up. I still have my family, so taking my kid to school, things like that. But it was just nice. It was so comfortable. But it went on too long. When I finally realized, which I realized way later than I should have. I mean, I was going on 2, 3 years of taking easy jobs, not putting all my effort into the jobs that I was taking. When it really started to hit home is when I would sit at night and say, man, I sat around all day and I really didn't even play with my kid. My wife and I start having marital issues, because I was this big bad Green Beret, right? This person that went out and did all this crazy stuff and had a crazy career. And then all of a sudden one day I'm just complaining about aches and pains, sitting on the couch, sleeping in. She thought that there was something wrong with us. And so that's when it kind of dawned on me of like, all right, I went from having my time to relax to just kind of being a piece of crap.
Mhm.
Like, okay, now you're just lazy.
Mhm.
And it's so hard once you let yourself go for that long to pull out of it. It really
Mhm.
is, because I mean the gym hurts even worse. I mean, everybody knows it's ever been a runner. That first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get back into it is painful and it's not fun at all. So why do we do it? Like, why do we do it? Because your mind is stronger than your brain. Or your mind it needs to be stronger, not stronger, and you need to be uncomfortable. I mean, it goes all the way back for me, it goes all the way back to how you raise your kids. If you raise your kids in a comfortable life, They're just that when something hard comes along, they're not going to know how to deal with it. And you could slip back into it. And I did. So I was fortunate enough to be able to pick up a contract to get back around like minded people. And for me, that was huge. Companies I was working with before, it was corporate world and just very different mentality. Hard, not necessarily hard to get along, but hard to understand that these people are okay with just sitting behind a computer all day. And, I lost that purpose, and the purpose is huge. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but and not having a drive to find one because of the comfortability. So getting back in the contracting world, I picked up a contract. I was in Moscow for a month. I was a bodyguard for the U.S. ambassador in Moscow, which was an awesome job. It was really cool, but it was kind of a party. It didn't work a lot in Moscow. It was a big party, 7 days a week, which I did not think. It was mind blowing when I got there. But then I got lucky enough to get this job here, and I'm working with former SAS and SBS guys. So definitely same mentality, and I'm training the Saudi military here too. So back into pretty much the old job, back around the same old people and working out every day, and just got that motivation back.
So what about, because you said something really like key that I think it's like you went around the same like-minded people again. Like,
Mm.
and that's really important because, it's been a bit challenging for me in terms of I moved from Los Angeles to South Carolina, and where I live it's like retiree central.
Yeah,
And or like people are just married with kids or going through a divorce, and it's so different from the LA lifestyle where like
about
everyone's
that.
loose and single, right? It's just like, like, and also it's just also different with the health mindset, and it's also different with the creative mindset because in
Mhm.
Los Angeles like there is so much creativity, and
Yeah.
people are just up to just like have fun, like, and just be like, oh, you want to do this project, like, let's do it. Where like
Yep. Yeah.
that's not that mentality, right? So what about when you're not around those like-minded people due to location and things like that? Like, how do you find that community, or how do you find it within yourself to, I guess, continue with what you want, that purpose, right? And then eventually finding those people, because they might not come right away,
One thing with getting comfortable is it comes along with isolation. You're also comfortable not being around people. You're retired and you don't have to go out if you don't want to. You don't
Mhm.
have to be around people if you don't want to. I'm a bit of a social butterfly, where my wife, she has this quota that she meets for meeting social people, and then she's done. Where I have this quota where I have to be with people social. I have to reach that or I'll get antsy. But even with that, when I got in that retirement mode, I started isolating. It was just my family. I mean, I still had friends over and still had things over, but during the week, it was just us. And working with nonprofits, I also had the podcast through Mount Carmel, which is a veteran service center out of Colorado Springs. Huge resource for anybody out there in Colorado. Please reach out to them, Mount Carmel Veterans Service Center. And then with the Special Forces Foundation, realizing how many groups there are out there and how many hands they're out there sticking way out to say, hey, let us help you. And not even just let us help you, just come be around. So for all those veterans out there, this is one thing I said on my podcast all the time is transition and depression, PTSD. There are all these things that, you sit down, and even substance abuse, you sit down and you start going down this trail and it feels lonely as could be, super lonely. And you
Mhm.
feel like you're just breaking brush every day. You're just trying to get through the jungle every single day. Well, if you open up your periphery and allow yourself to see there's a million other people going through the same exact thing you are, and there's even 10 times more hands sticking out saying, hey, we're here to help. For people that are having a hard time finding those groups, get on the internet. Just type in what you like to do. I almost guarantee you there's a veteran nonprofit organization for knitting. Like, I mean, it's that detailed. It really is. And
Yeah.
they're out there. And it's really hard to, when you're in that isolation mode, just to strike the keyboard and say, hey, I want to go out and be back around. Because that isolation, then you start thinking you're crappy, and that makes it even worse. You don't want to be around people because then you're feeling bad about yourself. And psychology 101, you can't make anybody else happy if you can't make yourself happy.
So let's talk about, because we said we're gonna get into it, like refinding purpose, right?
Mhm.
And And what were some ways that you refound purpose after retiring from the military?
It was really hard for me. Well, I'll take that back. It wasn't really hard for me. It was hard for me to put all my attention to it. So my purpose when I got out, because I had been working with the Special Forces Foundation since around 2018, and I got out in 2022. I separated from the foundation last year, just because of the contract, and it was weighing on me. So once I retired, I got down in my hole and started isolating and started just being lazy. So I worked really hard with the foundation and put all my effort into it, and then put too much effort into it. You can actually do that, especially when it comes to nonprofit. My tell you, like my purpose, I found my purpose in life is to help veterans and help people in general. I'm the guy that goes to the bar and people come up to me like, "Hey, I have this problem." Like I'm a counselor every time I go and hang out with but I love it and I love to do it. But if that is your purpose, you definitely have to be careful because you're signing yourself up for a very dark world. And for me, in the state that I was in, of trying to get myself a purpose and get myself out of it, I was ignoring my problems and helping other people's problems. So I had to. I found my purpose and I love it. I'm great, but then I had to manage
Mhm.
it because, I mean, even if your purpose is working out, your purpose is your job. You can't overdo it. You can get so engrossed in it that you're trying to fix your problems by doing this purpose while your problems and your family are still there too. So it's a tricky line. It really
Mhm.
is. But the purpose is as simple as what gets you out of bed in the morning. The blanket feels great, a little chilly outside. But what is that thing that says, well, I need to go out and do this, or this doesn't happen, or I can't do this if I don't do this? So, what gets you out of bed? It can be, like I said before, knitting. It could be, equestrian therapy is huge for people. I've helped a lot of, it helped a lot of people because they have this 2,000 pound animal that depends on them, right? It's made a huge impact on a lot of people. But don't dig so deep and try to find this purpose, especially, if you were a soft operator trying to find something that equates to traveling around the world, getting into wars and saving people's lives, because that part of your life is over and it needs to be because it's a young man's game.
How do you oh, I have so many questions. How do you accept that? Like, how do you accept that that part of your life is gone and move on from that? Because that's challenging. I mean, it's challenging for a bunch of for even civilians, like for myself, it's challenging for me to be like, I'm not in Los Angeles anymore,
Yeah.
like that part of my life is over. And, also with my family, like we were all super close growing up. Like not
Mhm.
my immediate family, we're still close, but like my like first cousins and things like that, and we'd support each other and go to each other's games, and like I saw them all the time, and now I we barely communicate. And it's like, I think back to those times that I loved and missed so much, and it's like that part of my life is over. I
Yeah.
have to just accept him and move on, because so many times I want to like call us all back or do, and like
Yeah.
relive those days, right? How do
Ooh.
you accept it? What do you got for accepting and moving on from it?
I don't know if acceptance is the term.
Mhm.
I would say managing more because there's always going to be that drive. I mean, look at me. I got out of the military and I'm doing exactly what I did in the military right now. So did I accept it? Really? Like I'm training Saudi military. That's all I did for the last, 12 years of my career as an SF was train other people. So it's like maybe I didn't really accept it all that well, but it's managing it more. It is okay, that's not my purpose. The reason why I am here, like I told you, I did find my purpose in helping people, and the reason why my wife signed off on this and say I can leave them and come here to Saudi and work is because I make very good paycheck here, and all of our money that we're making here is going back to potentially start a retreat for veterans. Colorado, I don't know if I can say this on here. You can edit out or not, but Colorado's legalized or delegalized some of the psychedelics in Colorado, and I've been working with some shamans for the last few years and have one of the most amazing shamans and experienced shamans in the world. And just through my ceremonies that I've put on for guys, I've seen people's lives change in 15 minutes with some of these medicines. And so it saved my life. I mean, when
Mhm.
I lost a job, and I just so happened I had a ceremony coming up 3 days later. I wasn't going to participate, but my buddy the shaman, he was like, you need to do this. If anybody needs this right now, it's you. And I mean, to be completely honest, I'm an open book. It was to a point where I got the guns out of the house bad. I was in a very, very dark place, and I went through the ceremony and came out, and that's when I was like, holy crap, my purpose is this. This is what I need to put my effort towards. It's not the corporate jobs. It is, to get this done to where I can get this done. And like I said before, and I just came out just happy and feeling so much better about my direction in life. And then that's what ended me here. So managing that transition is, some people, always hold on to it, and that's okay to hold on to it, but managing and be able to put it in the background.
You talked about your marriage and your wife a couple of times, and we had Green Beret Brandon Langford on the show, and we also had his wife on the show, Sarah. And they talked about marriage within the military and how divorce is higher when you
Yeah,
guys get home,
yeah.
because they're just not used to being married in a way that traditional couples are, right? You're gone for so long, and then you're just used to it. And with you, you mentioned, like, you were going through your own transition, which is really, really challenging for anybody that is retiring, like civilian, non-civilian, it's challenging to go through, right? And and then, it's kind of like parents adjusting to kids that are leaving. Sometimes that's a whole new thing, right? It's like
Mhm.
learning, it's really essentially like learning how to be married, right? In this new,
Yeah.
differently, because it's like, how did you guys re-navigate that to stay together, make it work, versus so many people that go in the other direction?
A lot of trial and error. A lot of I my wife is, I give her everything for my career, for where I'm at in my life. I mean, she's one of the strongest women I know. For her to put up with me through that time, I praise her. I really do. Too many people, in my opinion, quit when it gets hard when it comes to marriages,
Mhm.
and not understanding that those hard times only make you stronger. I mean, if 3 years ago, if I would have thought where we were at right now was possible, I'd tell you there's no way. I mean, we were in a bad spot. I mean, and it happens. A lot of marriages do not survive transition, and I'll tell you, it's for multiple reasons. Of one, like I told you before, I was this guy in the military that went out and did these things, and now all of a sudden I can't get out of bed in the morning because I hurt. I don't want to get up and go work out. She sees me just getting bigger and bigger, and smaller and smaller at the same time, if you know what I mean. Like, just shrinking and blowing up. And she knows that's not me. We've been
Yeah.
together for 12 years, and she knows that's not me, and she just sees me changing for the worse, and she's terrified. And then on top of that, I'm just in a bad mood a lot, so she thinks it's her fault, and then she's trying to take that burden, like, how do I fix this? How do I help him when I'm like, just stay away from me? There's just so many emotions rushing through both people's heads that I just tell people, just, you gotta stick it out. Like, you just have to it will get better. It will get better. You will get off the couch someday. You gotta do it yourself. No one else can do it for you, but it will get better. And she stuck it out with me. And I told her that. I was like, baby, I will get better. I promise I'm gonna get better. We will get through this. I always told my guys on my team that we're getting married and that we're married, and it doesn't even matter if it's a business relationship, a marriage, or anything. There's three things my wife and I tell people that make a marriage work: is trust, communication, and respect. And communication was huge in that piece of just, and that trust piece works of, like, she's trusting that I'm communicating with her, not holding back, and I'm trusting that she's hearing my words too.
Well, also, she's trusting you to follow through on what you're saying, right? Because
Yes.
I'm watching a different relationship where it's like, you know, like for my dad, for instance, is like 1 year, and then it's
Hmm.
like, and then it goes further. It's like, well, how can I trust your word, right?
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna do this, and then you don't, and then at a certain point you have to be like, okay, I can't trust them. I like, this is the path that it's going down. It's going to continue going down that way because they're not making the change. I need to reevaluate,
Yeah.
whereas it was, I'm not going to say easier, but you followed through with what you are saying, which created that trust to be stronger,
Yep.
where she gave you that space to say, okay, like, I'm going to let you figure this out. I'm going to give you that grace period. Right.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if she gave me much grace, but
like, that's just really important though, in terms of like, you showed up, like you
yeah.
followed through with what you were saying.
And that goes back to what I was saying before, like, with not spending time with my children and my marriage having its issues at that time. Also, like, I'm going to do this tomorrow. And then you wake up and you don't do it. Like, it feels kind of crappy within yourself. But then, of course, how the mind works, you're finding excuses of why you didn't do it to justify it.
And
So I'd
every
say,
excuse is logical. I mean, they're
oh,
logical
100%.
excuses. That's the worst part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that electricity, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
the brain's like electricity. It's going to find the
Mhm.
easy way. When you see yourself going down that point and making excuses for yourself of why you didn't hang out with your kid that day, hey, I think you've passed the point of your relaxed time. I would even try to say, and everybody's time frame is different. Right? I'm not going to say this is, it's a week, it's a month, it's a year. Everybody's time frame is different, but try to at least have a plan. I'm going to sit down for 1 month and relax. And then after that month, I'm going to go. It's like having a kid, right? You're like, always make these plans when you have a baby, but as soon as baby comes, all those plans go right out the window. At least have a
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like that's how most of our military operations, they always said the first thing that flies out the window when a bullet flies over your head is the plan. Like,
Right. But it's important to
so,
make that plan, just to at
mhm,
least have an idea, because then you have something to fall back on, in terms of
yep,
like, you have this outline and it's not going to go according to plan, but you at least have this outline to make adjustments. Whereas if you don't have a plan in general,
yeah.
it's like you don't even know where you're going to go.
Exactly. And if you walk into something like that, it will consume you very quickly
Hmm.
without because at least if you're a week or 2 weeks past your plan, you could sit there and say, man, I said I was going to do this only for a month, and now I'm a couple weeks back. And then you start feeling bad about it. And then that wheel can start turning a little, turning the other way. I'd say that plan's pretty important. I'm a very visual person too. So I have whiteboards. I have future, I have today, I have tomorrow. I have what my goals are for the future written down, so I can see them.
Me
I can put
too.
them in my,
I like
I
that.
can,
Yeah.
yeah, I can put them in my computer and not open that page up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's whiteboard. My wife doesn't like the whiteboard, so I got to have strategic places to put them. But it's something that I can see and something that I can strive for, and I know it's capable.
How far in the future do you go?
I mean, I have right now. I have our main goal, which is the retreat. We have our business plan made out for our retreat, and then we have our milestones, which will get me home from here, so I can stop contracting and get that off the ground. And like, our milestones are, we have a HELOC on our house, so paying off the HELOC, which that can be done in this amount of time. Then we have, okay, purchase property and house, that can be done with this amount of money that I'm making, and then we budget with that. And then utilities for the tiny homes that we're putting on the property to facilitate everything. And then once that happens, we can start Airbnb them out without starting to giving my whole business plan away. But
Yeah.
but we can Airbnb them, so it's generating money, so then I can potentially come home a little bit sooner. So it's like, just having that a goal. It's not necessarily a time frame of
Yeah.
how far out. I mean, but some people's brains work like that. If it is a time frame, it's a time frame. There's no like hard strict answer when it comes to psychology, because
Right.
everybody is so vastly different.
But I like that. I like that we have the short term, we have the medium term, we have the long term, in terms of, and you know where you're going to go, and you also understand that this is where my brain has not been able to learn yet, is that things just take time, right? To get from the short plan, the medium plan, the long plan. I'm always like, and I'm in this long plan game with like 10 projects, and
Yeah,
I just I'm in this long I've been playing the long-term game since day 1 of starting my career, and
yeah,
it it has my brain still has not, like, understood that. which can be challenging, but like you mentioned, like that plan, having that visualization of
Hmm.
seeing it definitely helps out, because I am such a planner. Like I have the next 3 vacations planned for myself. I have like I'm like, and when I say like plan, like it's ready, like booked, ready to go. And my family's
Yeah.
just like, you think so much like ahead. And I go, it's my life plan. Like I'm like, it's so important for me to have this plan, but they don't understand. They won't even have a plan for like dinner. Whereas like
Yeah.
when it comes to dinner, I'm ready to go. Like that's thought about last week. Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? You
You and
know,
my wife are very similar in that case.
and
But you
when
see that. Okay.
no, with kids too. I don't have kids, but I have a nephew, and when I take care of him, plan. Like
Yeah.
it also helps with all the thinking you're doing throughout the
Yeah.
day. It's one less thing you have to think about.
Yeah, but I can also say it can spark up your ADHD
Oh yeah,
because then you're looking at all the plans like
yeah,
So one thing I with my wife, she struggles with that a lot. If she plans all these things, and I'm like, hey, prioritize some. Like
yeah,
put some in the forefront, put some in the back. Like let's drive for one, because if you're doing a whole bunch of things at once, you can
yeah,
focus all that energy on one and do that one really good, and then switch to the next one. But her
yeah.
brain doesn't work. Her brain doesn't work like that. So
We're very similar in that sense. I get that.
it's like you can do a whole bunch of things pretty good, or do one thing really good and efficiently quick, and then move to the next one. But I
Yeah.
don't know if that's a guy thing or a brain thing or what. But it's most of the guys I've talked to are like, yeah, that's what I've always done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, very different, very different. Yeah. It's I wanna ask you, because I'm wondering, our listeners may be curious. I've never asked this question, and, right now you mentioned you're working with British Special Forces.
Mhm.
Is there a cultural difference within our Special Forces and then British Special Forces, and how do you guys, like, work together?
Not really.
No.
Just same exact mentality, just a different accent. Just the A-type personalities. Most of the British guys, like SAS guys I've worked with. So the SAS and the SBAS are kind of well, Delta Force CAG, whatever you want to call it these days. The CAG base themselves off SAS, so they're more of like a tier one, whereas SF is a tier two. I can go down that whole road, but it's that take up the entire episode. We work in small groups; they work in larger groups. They're more direct action and hostage rescue focused, where we're more unconventional warfare focused.
Mhm.
So working in those larger groups is definitely a different mentality. But if you went on, I never worked over at Delta Force. I worked with some of them, but CAG, I, the mentality might be a lot more similar than what
Mhm.
SF is. But overall, the overarching human that tries out for these jobs and succeeds at them, A-type personality, a guy that can get himself out of bed, self-motivating, usually fairly intelligent, very quippy. And then you add the British thing to the quippiness, and it's just 10 times worse. But they just fire off. You got to be on your game around these guys, because you make one mistake. That was my joke. The first day I showed up, I had this is my big water bottle. I always carry it because I can track how much I drink. And if I don't have this water bottle, I don't drink water. But when I was at my house, I had a straw in it. Showed up to work first day, and I looked around, and all the guys were around, and I took that straw right out of there. That's all I need. I need to be the guy over in the corner sucking on my straw. Nope, can't do that. I don't need to give them ammunition for things to be made fun of for day one. So yeah, when it comes to that, just very same mentality. But a lot of it's fun being around this group of people, because I definitely missed it.
How do you feel you guys lead together, or work together as a team in terms of, you know, I wanted to segue into leadership to really
Okay.
like ask you, like, what are some things that people misunderstand about leadership, especially, with what you're doing now?
And I will warn you, I do say I say this all the time. I say that a lot because I have a lot of sayings. Thing I said throughout my military career is people that don't know how to lead overlead. People
Okay.
don't know how to plan. People don't know how to plan over plan. And it was so apparent in the military when you had not a strong leader. They're like, show up 45 minutes before formation, and we're like, why? Like, well, this might happen, this might happen, and this might happen. Well, you plan for those things. The contingencies are in the plan. So if you're not a great planner, you just have everybody show up way early. Or leader, you just have everybody show up way early. Same with planning. Like, hate to throw my wife under the bus on this one, but I'm the type of person that I have a flight. I know exactly how long it gets through, how long it takes me to get through security. I'll show up. I mean, our small little airport in Colorado Springs, I'll show up 45 minutes before my flight. She had a flight today. She showed up 2.5 hours early.
That's my mom. That's my mom. It drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. And we're pre-check. I'm like, we don't need this.
Thank God for lounge access, because I'll tell you what, I'm okay with showing up 3 hours early now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's all that, it's that leadership aspect, is understanding your problem set, understanding how to mitigate issues that could come along, contingency planning, and then making a solid plan with solid amount of time. So when I get around groups of guys like this, it is very the same mindset, because we have planned a lot, and there are people that are natural leaders. Usually it's a charismatic person that people just follow. It doesn't mean that you're a good leader. I've had guys that are very charismatic that people just gravitate to, but if they're having a bad day in the team room, the entire team room's having a bad day, right? They don't use it for good. But there are other people that do use it for good. But leadership to me really comes with experience, and just having that experience of being a good follower is the
Mhm.
base of it. You have to be someone that understands what a boss is, and when he tells you what to do, how to get it done proficiently with the least amount of guidance. And when you screw it up, like, accept responsibility. Those things all translate. If you're good at those things, it translates into a good leader, because if you can accept those things and accept responsibility, then that's what you expect out of your guys. Me, I always started with a little bit of a longer leash than most people when I was a leader, and then that leash, if I had to, got pulled tighter.
Meaning like you gave people more leeway.
Correct. Gave
Okay.
people more leeway. I will give you guidance. Hey, this is what I want done. I don't say this is how I want it done. I
Right.
want this done. Because if I'm sitting there telling you exactly how I want it done, your brain doesn't work the same as mine. It
Right.
doesn't. You have a completely different plan in your head of how to get this done. And at
Mhm.
the end of the day, I don't care, just as long as it gets done. Like,
Right.
but if I'm
Yeah.
sitting there telling you every step of the way how to do things, why am I not just doing it myself? I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the time to sit there and do that for everybody on the team. That's why I'm on a team, and that's why I was a leader of the team, is to delegate responsibility. And so then it leaves me to do my job as a leader up and out. Yeah, that leadership piece it's a lot of experience and working with a lot of guys. And luckily I was in a field where, you had to be a certain level of intelligence to get into. You had to have a certain level of physical ability. So it was a little bit nicer once I got into the special forces realm, as opposed to regular army, because, as you know, pretty much anybody can join the army. So those came with its different challenges of, just teaching people how to be good humans in general. Like, which is, is an unfortunate part of leadership too. There's people that, were raised completely different than you, and there's no saying that they're wrong in what they're doing. It's just weird. So you just try to train, and while you're leading, train, coach, and mentor, and motivate
Well,
those
I'll
people.
tell you that's what I'm struggling with right now is leadership in terms
Mhm.
of I run a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Speaking of nonprofits, and I get a couple of volunteers, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do with you guys, and there's so many things that need to get done. But the thing is that also people don't want to do the things that really need to be done. Like I'm just like, if you could just email these people for me, like that would be amazing and be a big help. Like nobody wants to do that. Everyone wants to do
Yeah.
like that,
The fun stuff.
yeah, they want to do that hands-on, all that other stuff. And it's
Mhm.
just, it's just, we're not there yet. We're not at that level, and that's what I'm struggling with is to work with my volunteers to grow this nonprofit to get to where it needs to be with
Mhm.
fundraising and all that other stuff. But just being able to communicate with them, like, to
Yeah.
get things done.
Working with volunteers is difficult,
It is.
because
It's a different beast.
they're you're missing a whole aspect of motivation, which is money. Right?
Yeah.
So, like, they can
Yeah,
just technically walk off the job if they want. You can't be
I'm
like, you're
telling you.
fired. Well, hey, what are you going to fire me from? Like, I'm a volunteer. So, you know, if you get what you pay for.
Yeah. I do give my
um,
team incentives. Like
that's
I give
awesome.
them incentives where I'm like, "Hey guys, if you get whoever gets this 10 whatever sponsors for this
Mhm.
event gets this TV or this gift card or this, whatever it
Cool.
is that I'm able to legally do as a nonprofit, I give
Mhm.
incentives out
That's
because
great.
that motivates people. And also, I want to know like what gets you excited?
Yeah.
What is it? Because I really there's a reason why you chose my nonprofit to volunteer at, right?
Hmm.
Why me? And what gets you excited? And that way I could then put you there. And I know this, it's just then executing it with the volunteers because like
Yeah.
you said, they're different beasts. They can it's different than a the employee, right?
It's like, oh, my volunteers over there drinking at the party, not working at all. Like, great, what do we do now? I can't yell at them. Like,
Yeah. No, it's
yeah, I
just
mean, motivation is a huge piece of leadership, and when it comes to people, like I said, everybody's brain works completely differently. On my team, I worked in a 12-man team, and three of us were leadership, so then I had the guys. And if I was yelling at someone about or getting on to someone about something, I had to talk to each person on the team completely different. There was one guy that I could just go up to and be like, "Hey, you messed this up. I need you to fix it now." And I had another guy on the team and be like, "Hey, let's go over in the corner and talk. I want to talk about like why you did it this way." And another guy should be like, hey, just yeah. It was all very different conversations, and
now talk about how
saying the
you
same
learned
thing.
that though. That's kind of important. How did you learn that about your team?
One, I'm huge into psychology. I love breaking humans down. I love talking with someone for a little while and be like, I know exactly what personality you are. I
Mhm.
know, like, okay, you work off, the love languages type thing, but like expanding more on that, like
There's a
you,
book, I forgot what it is. They're yellow, green, blue, red. Have you ever read that
yeah,
book? Surround your
uh,
something about I forgot totally what
I
it was called.
forgot what
I
it
thought of you as you're mentioning, being able to
is.
understand the person.
Mhm. And you can not necessarily categorize them because again, everyone's so different. But
Right.
understanding what makes a person tick is really fun for me. I don't say manipulation. Manipulation sounds bad, but let's be honest. In every conversation, everybody's manipulating everybody, like
Yes.
without a doubt.
Yeah.
Whether you know it or
I
not,
tell it
you are.
all I say that all the time. People get so
Yeah,
offended. It's like that's
yeah.
just reality.
There's such a
No.
yeah, there's such a manipulation has such a bad connotation. Like,
Right.
but like when you're sitting there having a conversation and you want to say something that you feel is more important, you're steering the conversation back to what you want to say. That's manipulation. Like
Mhm.
it's as simple as that. Me being able to do that, understanding people, made it a lot easier for me to break people down and learn how to speak to each person differently. And a big piece of that is just closing your mouth and opening your ears. Conversation is two-way. And just because you're the leader doesn't mean that you are the smartest person in the room. You
Mhm.
just either one been there longer or two, got promoted. It's you're not the smartest person in the room, and a lot of leaders have a hard time with that. They think just because I'm in charge, what I say goes. And I would tell my guys all the time, like it goes back to that trust, communication, and respect. Like if I mess up, if I'm doing something to make you angry, please tell me, because if I continue to do that, it doesn't mean, or that means that I don't understand that I'm doing that. I don't know that I'm doing that. People don't, majority of people in this world don't intentionally hurt people. If they're doing something, that's because that's the only way they either know how to do it, or they don't realize what they're doing. Because they were raised completely different than you. Just because you think it's wrong doesn't mean that they think it's wrong. So if you are being hurt by that, it is on you to say something, have that communication piece and trust piece to be able to communicate that, to tell the person, hey, this is bothering me. I'd rather have one crappy conversation than you build up an animosity towards me and me continue to do that thing that bothers you, but then you just hate me and I don't even know because I don't even realize that I'm doing it.
Right.
So, and I tell people too, like even with relationships, and I've helped people out, with relationships, and it's like if you are not telling that person they are doing something wrong, it eventually becomes your fault because they don't know. They have no clue that they're doing this thing wrong. They're not intentionally doing it. It's just how they are, and you have to be the one to step up and say, "Hey, please stop doing it."
This podcast episode is brought to you by Thrivers Coffee. Podcast guest Nick McKinley's company, Deliver Fund, brings you guys Thrivers Coffee. It is ethically sourced, it's organic, and it supports traffic survivors. That is right. Thrivers Coffee is all about empowering us to making a difference in the fight to end human trafficking. That's why 100% of the proceeds go directly towards their goal of bringing freedom to victims of human trafficking. So if you guys love coffee that is organic, ethically sourced, and tastes absolutely delicious, and want to help to end the fight of human trafficking, check out Nick McKinley's company, Thrivers Coffee. I will say, like, within myself, I have no problem, like,
No problem.
communicating, like, no problem. However, my body and my brain do, like, which is weird.
Okay.
Like, my body gets uncomfortable. I had to speak at a meeting the other day for the nonprofit, and
Mhm.
I was going to do I did something a little different, where instead of talking like this, when it was my time to talk, I started to talk like this, and everyone in the room, it got really uncomfortable, right?
You have a
And then all of a
stroke?
sudden
Like,
I
what's
would
going on?
it was very uncomfortable, and then I was like, does my slow talking bother you? Because this is what a child goes through when they don't know how to read. And everyone was like,
Um,
oh my god, like, and I
uh,
go, and I was like, and they can't look at you, and their self-esteem drops, and all the things that I did when I started talking in the beginning, they're now
Smart.
picking up on, right?
Mm.
And before that, though, my heart is pounding out of my chest. And I'm saying, I'm like, I am talking to myself, going like, relax, this is not a big deal. Like, you're going to be fine. But my body just is doing things that I am struggling to control. And it's the same thing when I have to communicate with somebody and have a confrontation with them. Whereas, like, I'm ready to go, but my
Yeah.
body is just in a different place. And then my mind then analyzes the whole situation, right? And that's where
Snowball.
I'm, yeah, like,
Snowball just gets
it's
worse and worse.
it's worse and worse, because then it analyzes the whole situation, and like, what do you, well, like, how do you work on that, especially in terms of like controlling the body with, like, here's the thing for you, you go into combat, right? There is
Mm.
there is a higher chance for you than me, in terms, because I'm not in combat, that you may not make it, right? That's just, reality.
Yeah.
There is no way that with you going into, and I could be wrong, but just like
Yeah.
for you going into a fight, like, the body has to, like, energy wise, like, things just
No,
naturally happen.
no,
No,
no, don't go. No, I'm
no.
saying your brain's going, no, don't go.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
don't do
okay. Yeah.
this.
So, like, how do you, like, what things do you do to calm that body down?
So I would say with combat, it's a little different, but I will tell you that the first time I went in on a mission, I was terrified. I mean, I was
Mhm.
absolutely terrified. I was walking around like this the whole time. Just like, okay, I think I saw something over there, and like getting on and off a helicopter in the middle of the night is the most terrifying part of the mission, outside of once if anything happens out there. But like that to me was just get me off this helicopter as fast as possible. The helicopter pilots are like, I can't believe you guys are getting off. You're insane. I'm like, I can't believe you're flying a bus in the sky. Like, like this is you guys are insane. But it's experience. I mean, it just you have to do the repetitions, and
Mhm.
we train so much on this job that it is easy to fall back on the repetitions. It's easy to be like, I've done this a million times, but this time is real. But I will say my first mission when I went on, then my 30th mission, two completely different mentalities.
Right.
Very, very different. And and once you get out there and you're walking around as much as we have, you see cues, you see things. The village is acting differently because we always work with partner forces. When you're walking around at night in the middle of the night and one of your Afghan partners is dragging their gun, you're like, okay, tonight's going to be a good night. But like if they're all sitting there like this walking, you're like, oh golly, tonight might suck. Like so, again, that just comes with repetition. But I'll tell
Yeah.
you, like my first team that I was on in 10th group was a mountain team, and I was on the team for about a year and a half. And the mountain teams means they're just they're really they climb. They're mountain climbers. About a year and a half on the team, I still haven't been to mountain school, and my team sergeant comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, we're going to send you to mountain school." And I said, "Hey, no." Like, love mountains, hate cliffs. Like, we get what they call the Elvis leg, where the leg just starts shaking and you can't
Oh,
stop
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, I get vertigo really bad. And I told him
Oh.
that. I was like, I honestly, and I get it. Like, if I would have done it a whole bunch of times, I'd have been fine. But the mountain course is no joke, and I would be putting other people at risk if I went. Like, my legs stopped working. I'll fall off this mountain, then I got to put other people at risk. Like, I'm sorry. I would love to go to dive school. People are terrified of the water. I love the water. I'm here in Saudi Arabia and I'm finally going to get my dive license. I never got a chance to go to dive school. Like, I just absolutely love it. And people are like, "You're insane. I can't believe you go there." Like, "You're insane climbing up a mountain." Like, and it's funny too, because like people are like, it's at heights. And I don't know if it's heights, but like I was a jump master. I could stick my head out of an aircraft and do all my checks for jump master. And I was completely fine. But of course, I jumped out a ton of times. Like the first time I
Mhm.
jumped out, yeah, little scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when
Must be
it comes to
terrifying.
that, it's just going back to what we were talking about yesterday: is being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Do you have a trick for yourself with your body? Like when your body is like for myself, I'm like doing breathing and it's just not worth the heart just won't. It's just going nuts. And I do every once in a while, it will calm down a bit with the breathing, but also my patience is not at its best because I'll like do a couple of breathing exercises and the heart won't calm down and I just won't. And I'm like, this doesn't even work, this breathing, you know? What do you do for your body to calm it down?
Depends on what I'm doing. So obviously with foundation, I was doing a lot of public speaking, and I was
Mhm.
really good at it. Like, I really enjoyed it. But with that, it was just preparation. I just had to be prepared.
Mhm.
I had to be speaking on something that I loved. I had to be knowledgeable about it, and I can get up there and ramble on forever. But if it was someone like come up to me, "Hey, I need you to do a speech," I'm like, this is kind of rough. But I will say, even with that, a few years in to me working with the foundation, and after hundreds of speeches, being on the news, the first time I was on the news, I got the Elvis leg. Thank God it was edited. Thank God it was an edited spot, because I
Yeah.
was like, that guy needs a raise because it was bad. But then I would go on the news frequently, and by the time I got done, I was like, it was just like having a conversation with you and me.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
For some reason, podcasts have never bothered me because I feel like I'm just on a phone conversation.
Right.
But so I had a speech in Arizona, and I just bombed, like
Mhm.
absolutely bombed. Fumbling over my words. My old boss, and I are on the greatest terms right now. And if he hears this, he's going to be like, "I told you so." I should have prepped longer. I should have put more preparation into it, and it was my
Mhm.
fault. But after that, I had the yips, and my next like 5 speeches were horrible. And then the old anxiety came back, the legs started shaking, and it just completely started from day one. So it's always there. It's the only thing you can do to stop is prepare and repetition,
Mhm.
and find the love in it, is getting yourself prepared for all these things. And it, like I said, goes back with me going on missions. I knew that I was prepared for those missions. I'm not prepared for exactly what's going to happen, but I know that my guys to the right and left of me are as prepared as me, and we're going to do the best we can.
No, I mean preparation I mean it's so important. It's key. It's key
Yeah.
to also and that also helps your body prepare, right? Because
Yep.
your body knows what it's going into versus the unknown where our brain's job is to keep us safe, so it definitely able to control that. And I think, now that I'm thinking about what we're talking about, when I did that talk where I knew what I was going to do in terms of this was the plan. It was just
Yeah.
talk slow, mention this is what a child goes through, and do my call to action. But the middle part, the whole get from
We're
1
gonna
to 2
wing
to
it.
3, it was wing it. And that's probably why when I look back at it is why my body was just like uncontrollable, like, beating. Um,
Yeah. I've been there a few times where it's like, "Oh, cool, I've prepped. I know how I'm going to do this." And then you start speaking, you're like, or maybe you go on like a rabbit hole or a tangent that kind of went off, and you're just like, "Oh no, I just took
all
myself
the
off
time.
path." I'm
Yeah.
like, this is bad.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
So
I
yeah,
get it. Been there.
preparation.
Yeah.
And we can even translate it back to, going back into the transition thing is you're taking away from that preparation when you're sitting around and doing nothing. You're taking away from all that hard work that you did. So if you said do it too long, it's more that you're losing in the end. Towards that end, so the longer the more elongating that time is, the more you're taking away from you've prepped to be this awesome, dude. Now you can do it with your family. Now you can do it in the new job. Now you can do this, but it's like, all right, now I want to sit around, and all that preparation just flushed down the toilet for me. Getting back into working out was rough. The first time I did legs, oh man, I've been sore like that in forever.
What then? That's actually a really good question. What made you keep going back instead of being like, I'm going to rest a little bit longer,
It was that internal battle with me.
Okay.
It was that the seeing the marriage struggle, seeing me having a hard time with myself. Like I said, the big one was like, why didn't I play with my kid today? Why? Like, I have one kid, and we sat around all day, and he even asked me to do something. I said I was busy. And it's like I could have just dropped what I was doing and played with him. And it was, when I realized that other things were struggling because of my actions, I wasn't getting out of the relaxation what I thought I was. It was actually a detriment in the long run. So, in the first, few months, great. 3 years, pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you have for us, the listeners on the show, that we can do on a daily basis to strengthen our mental fitness to be able to handle challenges that are inevitably going to come our way?
One, when it comes to mental fitness and mental health, don't ever try to do it alone. Don't ever try to do it alone. There's a million resources out there for you. If you try to do it alone, you're gonna end up isolating and being alone, and then you're gonna be alone with your problems. A million people have the same problems you have, and there's a million people out there that want to help. So lean on people. Therapy, please. Everyone go to therapy, even if you don't think you're messed up. It is tools for the toolbox. It is an unbiased opinion of your life that can get you from point A to point B. So don't ever do it alone. Two, be comfortable being uncomfortable. Working out's hard.
Mm-hmm.
That's why not everybody does it. Getting up and just walking, especially the guys, the soft guys, so a lot of guys that you talk to are, these military operators, and keep that mindset. Don't lose it completely. Go relax, go chill out, but don't lose it completely, because that's who we are. We are the best in the world at being uncomfortable. Keep that going. And it doesn't have to be, I did the Norwegian winter warfare course. We had to jump in water in the middle of winter in Norway and Arctic Circle. Like, it doesn't have to be that. I mean, if you want it to be, go ahead. But sleeping out outside and with no food and water for days on end, like, uncomfortable could just be going to the gym, go and sit in a
Right.
sauna, go sit in a cold plunge. Like, do stuff. Keep that edge. I'd say the biggest thing for me is just lean on people. Even if you're an introvert, your family is huge. They want to see you do good, and help other people too. And understand, one thing I teach my wife: people love to help. People genuinely love to help other people. It makes them feel good. So when you ask someone for help, you're not asking for favors. You're sticking a hand out, and you're going to make that person happy too.
Amazing. Wow. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for being on the show. You're fantastic.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for what you're doing. Honestly, with the nonprofit and with the podcast, like I said before, with my podcast, my big thing was, telling a story, telling your story, even if you're isolating, even if you're struggling, even if you're beyond it. Telling your story could save lives. Someone out there is going to hear it and say, "Oh man, someone's going through the same thing I'm going through," and that can motivate. Just that alone can motivate them to get off the couch and start fresh. So keep doing what you're doing, keep getting the word out there, and you're saving lives.
Thank you. And thanks for everything that you're doing, especially with the nonprofit. I know what a nonprofit is like. So, I commend anyone that's getting in that endeavor. So, um,
Yeah.
and we'll be happy to collaborate if we can on, on getting the word out for your nonprofit when you're at that level, to, get out there and all that stuff, because I know what it's like.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
I
so
appreciate it. If
thank
anything you need to, please reach out. I have plenty of guests, plenty of people that would love to get out there and share their stories too.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And everyone that's listening, like, share, comment, subscribe, become a Substack member. It's extra goodies that only your Substack members get. And I'll see you guys all next Wednesday. Thank you.